Well, that was fantastic. I didn't expect to have that much of a good time, but since DC has officially hit its stride, let's talk about this insanely twisted, clown-infested heck of a ride. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Birds of Prey follows Harley Quinn, once again played by Margot Robbie, as she unfortunately breaks up with the Joker, which means it's open season on her forehead. She no longer has Joker and his goons to protect her from all the mob bosses with hits on her head, so she has to put together her own band in order to stay afloat in the underground crime world of Gotham. Black Mask is the main villain of this movie. He puts a $500 million bounty on a 14-year-old girl's head. This little girl gets paired with Harley Quinn, and now they both have to stay afloat together. And no lie, man, this movie slaps. First of all the characters are so engrossing. Margot Robbie once again kills it as Harley Quinn. She's extremely entertaining to watch. She lights up every scene she's in. And I feel like I could watch her doing basically anything. I love the first couple minutes of this movie because it just shows her going about her life after she breaks up with Joker. She's a complete slob. She's trying to get her feet back on the ground and prove that she can stand on her own. Kinda like this movie, wink wink. That's another thing I really like about this movie. It doesn't bog itself down with setting up future DC sequels. DC struggled in the past years because they tried to copy that Marvel formula and always set up towards a bigger franchise, a bigger crossover, a bigger team up, a bigger sequel. But this movie kind of exists in that same universe, but it doesn't. It focuses on its characters and doesn't just let its runtime pad out with setting up those movies. So yeah, Margot Robbie killed it. I love that she's much better written in this movie. In Suicide Squad, she was just a prop. She didn't have much of a character of her own. She was extremely sexualized. But in this movie, she is a fully realized character, and Margot Robbie absolutely kills it. Ewan McGregor absolutely steals the show as well as Black Mask. Black Mask is one of my favorite B-less Batman villains. I love his mask aesthetic. I love his attitude. You can tell Ewan McGregor is having a phenomenal time. So much fun in this role. And I love how this movie kind of brings out that overknown quirk of his where he's kind of a man-child. If things don't go his way, he loses his crap very fast, and it's extremely entertaining to watch. Plus, it's just kind of hilarious watching Obi-Wan Kenobi drop several F-bombs, not gonna lie. I love how deep this movie goes into the pockets of DC lore. Black Canary is in this movie, and I really love the character she was given. I really love the direction they were taking her story. It was a very different take for her character. She starts off working for Black Mask and then gets paired with Harley and sees there's another way to do things. Victor Zsasz is in this movie, and he's creepy. This is the best version of Zsasz we've seen in a little while. The Huntress is in this movie. She was not as good as she was in Arrow, but I'll get on that later. But my point is, this movie just throws in so many DC characters that are slightly lesser known. It doesn't rely on the heavy hitters and still gives them very interesting story arcs. Also, the action in this movie, holy crap. This is a movie that takes advantage of its R rating. Its action violence is so brutal and so satisfying. This movie has some of the most satisfying, bone-crunching action sequences I've seen in a very long time. This movie really shows it understands what it's doing with its characters and its fighting style, and it creates some of the most creative action sequences I've seen in a very long time. Like I said, this movie really is rated R, and it takes advantage of that. There's a lot of language, and it makes Gotham feel like the gritty crime crap hole that it actually is. We know how bad Gotham can be, and I like how DC is making these R-rated movies now with this and Joker just to make it more exciting, make it more experimental, tell the stories Marvel isn't willing to tell. Speaking of experimental, this movie has a lot of dynamic and expressive camera work that I really wasn't expecting. Sometimes it'll just go into a literally dreamlike, a hallucinatory sequence that was really creative and I just absolutely loved. The camera work and visual effects of this movie are very expressive and comic booky in just the right ways where it's able to blend the comic book and the live action beautifully. The music is also so much better. Oh my goodness. The music in this movie, lots of license hits, but because of Daniel Pemberton, my man who worked on Spider-Verse, gives a ton of awesome remixes. It goes with the action of the movie flawlessly. Seriously, there's a cover of Hit Me With Your Best Shot in this movie that's so haunting, and oh my goodness, it was excellent. Yes, this movie stars women. It's written by women. It's produced by women. It's directed by a woman. The girl power message hits you over the head with a Harley Quinn-sized mallet. It's no secret that this is a feminist movie. But I didn't mind it that much because it did something that I like to call show not preach feminism. In the show not preach style of feminism, you show firsthand through the characters' experiences how difficult it is to be a woman in their situation. Renee Montoya, the main detective that's getting screwed over at the police station, is constantly ridiculed and has all of her promotions taken apart by her male co-workers. Within its dialogue, this movie touches upon a lot of feminist subjects such as catcalling, sexual objectification, date rape, all that. It shows you how difficult their life can be as women instead of just giving you a gender studies lecture. Seriously, there are no lines of this movie that just go like, yes, this is the fantabulous emancipation of Harley Quinn as she topples the patriarchy for an hour and 45 minutes. After all, the woman only makes 77 cents to $1 of their mail, so this should be a harder life for her. No, there are no dialogue sequences like that. They just show you instead of just preaching outright. Besides, believe me when I tell you, DC and the CW have done the feminist bit way worse than this movie.
You a Doctor Who fan, Joni?
Well, ever since he became a lady, I am. Hashtag feminism.
As far as the cons of this movie, the pacing is kind of breakneck in the first act. They have a lot of characters to set up, and I feel like the movie really took off once it actually established those characters. But unfortunately, the story just kind of goes non-sequentially and just feels kind of messy within the first 30 minutes. They constantly flash back and forth between the characters to catch you up on their story. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Also, the Huntress. The Huntress is the only character in this movie I just didn't really resonate with. She has this real hardcore personality because of her childhood that they kind of make fun of in a good way, but she was just not as fun to watch as the other characters. Finally, while the action sequences are very creative, very inventive, there were only so many times I could suspend my disbelief, especially in the last fight. I get it, I really do. Harley Quinn is a formidable fighter because of her quirkiness, her creativity, her athleticism, her gadgets, etc. But when you have this 45, 50-year-old cop that's teaming up with her for a second to beat up these guys as cut as The Rock, only with a pair of brass knuckles, and she just one-shots all these dudes. I'm like, alright, ladies. But overall, I was a huge fan of this movie. It's extremely creative, it's gritty, it's surprisingly funny, it's filled with tons of charismatic performances. It has all the style, attitude, and grit that Suicide Squad wish it had. The story gets a little bit muddled in the first couple minutes, but once it straightens out, this is a heck of a ride, and this movie is everything I wanted it to be. I'm gonna give Birds of Prey a solid 4 out of 5 stars. So those are my thoughts on Birds of Prey. I very much enjoyed it. While you're here, thanks for sticking to the end of the video. Make sure you leave a like, comment. What's your favorite DC Extended Universe movie? This is the second women-led DC movie that's just knocked it out of the park, so maybe Marvel can take some pointers on how to write a female hero. But yeah, make sure you leave a comment, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. All my social media links are in the description. Be a bro and follow me on Twitter, @Pack_reviews. I am Pack. Thanks so much for hearing my perspective, and I'm out for now.